Welcome back, everyone, to Drop Frames. We're going into the second half of the show, and we're joined by the one and only Kit. It feels weird, Kitboga. It feels weird having a guest on the show again. It's been some time, Kitboga. You're maybe the third guest of 2019, maybe. We're 10 months in.
Wow. We'll send you your plaque later this week.
Yeah. You get a plaque for this. You can put it up on the wall. So yeah.
I'm honored.
Yeah, or wherever you want. I guess you don't have to put it on the maybe on the floor in a pile in the like shame bin. Welcome. How's it going? Who are you talking to today? You seem to talk to a different scammer every single day.
Yeah, although lately I'm doing well, by the way, your first question. Um lately some of the calls have been going very long. So today there was a guy that we've talked to for about 15 hours over the course of maybe like 2 or 3 weeks that I was
Jeez.
talking to today. His name's Mr. David. At least that's what he calls himself, Mr. David.
Yep.
Yeah.
Uh, yeah. I spoke
Yeah.
with some other
Last
guys
time I
too.
tuned in, you were on like when I tuned, it was like a week or two ago or something like that. You were on 30 plus hours with somebody.
Yes. The current record, I think I can get the exact one. It's like 30 hours and change, maybe 40 minutes. I think that's over though.
Is it?
Uh,
They stopped calling?
I think so. He won't return my calls, and the way it ended was basically, I'm trying to think of how to summarize the 30 hours.
It was a
but-
long ordeal.
Yeah,
We've only got an hour here, Kitboga. Let's keep it. Come on, stay on track. It's a whole ordeal. I highly recommend going and checking it out for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The condensed version is basically we came up with some ways where I coded on the virtual machine that I use a fake Google Play Store kind of thing. So when they ask me to get Google Play cards and stuff, I redeem them, and it blows their mind because they're not expecting it.
Right.
And so I did that basically, I don't know, 10 times with those guys over the course of a couple of weeks, and they kept getting more and more upset. And then so normally I talk like an elderly person or a grandma or something.
Mhm.
And I use my voice to pretend to be another scammer named Daniel, and they fight with me. And so I swap between like my old person voice and then my voice. And at the end of the 30 hours, the scammer, I don't think he was really crying, but he was definitely, he sounded defeated and was like, "Ma'am, why won't you pay me? I've spent so many hours with you and you pay everybody else. Why won't you pay me?" Because I pretended to give like $40,000 to this Daniel character over the course of 3 or 4 weeks.
Jesus.
And I think they gave up.
Yeah.
You know what? I realized something. Kitboga, if you don't mind,
We didn't
have a
even
lot of-
explain. Yeah, go ahead.
we have a lot of people today that haven't seen your show. They don't. You do something extremely unique
Sure.
on Twitch. So if you wanted to, like, how would you tell somebody who's never heard of you what you do on Twitch?
The short version. It's admittedly, even after doing this for 2.5 years, 3 years, it's hard to summarize it. But I call scammers people who pretend to be Microsoft, people who pretend to be the Internal Revenue Service. I had one the other day that was pretending to, hey, there's me.
Yeah, there you go.
I had one
I'm here.
that was pretending to
You're
be
fucking big. Sorry.
Roku and activating your like Twitch channel on Roku. They were pretending to be all kinds of stuff. And we just call us, I do like different accents and, try to be like different characters and waste their time and like learn about the scams and have fun. That's
And in some cases,
condensed.
like you said earlier, defeat them or make them feel defeated for what they do.
Yeah.
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 Incredible.
How did that start? I guess is a question to follow up to that. Like, what set you on this path? Because this is not like Kobe hit the nail on the head. This is not a thing on Twitch. You started this. Yeah. So
You make him sound like
I
a
wouldn't
knight.
say-
he is. I mean, he is. He's out there saving old ladies from
Saving old
scams.
ladies.
Hey, my own
Absolutely.
grandmother called me once and said, I just got a call that you're somewhere in South America being detained by the government and I have to pay money. And I was
Oh,
like,
no.
no, you're just being scammed, Grandma. And she's like, If you say so.
So you're saying I shouldn't pay them?
Yeah. So this shit is very real. Like I have a firsthand account of it. So yeah, what set you down this path?
Yeah. First of all, I was not the first person ever to do these things,
Okay.
but I may be one of the first to do it on Twitch. I don't know.
Sure.
But you may have heard the term 419 scams, or there were these like the email scams, like the Nigerian prince thing.
Right.
Has been around for a long, long time. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, it's where they would email you and say, "Sir or madam, I'm a prince from another country and I have all of this money, to my name, millions of dollars, but I can't get it into the United States. So if you can help me, I will give you $1 million of this billion-dollar fortune I have. And all you have to do," and then they come up with stupid things like they give you fake checks and you have to give them money back or whatever it is. It's been around for a while. But
Sure.
the way I got started was sort of randomly. I did not set out to do this on Twitch. I didn't think about it like, oh, I want to make a Twitch channel and call scammers and have that be my job. That was definitely my background is in software engineering. I had a job that I enjoyed quite a bit, but I saw one day on YouTube, and I think I was supposed to be working. I think I might have looked up something on YouTube related to work,
Nice.
but I'm not sure.
Like
Shout out to the
70%
people
of
watching drop frames from work
streams.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. That's what I was doing. I looked up a drop frames video from work,
Nice.
and then I
Okay.
saw
Money's in the bank.
this.
Yeah. The real one, not your fake bank.
Yeah. A related video, and it said something like a Microsoft scammer yells at automated voicemail. And I thought, well, that's weird. What are they talking about? So I clicked it, and there's a series called Hey, It's Lenny. And it's this recording. You may have heard of it. It's an elderly gentleman, maybe from England or something, or London. And it's set up so that telemarketers, when they call this phone line, he would say, "Hello," and then wait for them to respond. And then he would say, "I can't hear you." And he basically would do that for 7 minutes, and it would loop. But he'd talk about his daughter, and my daughter's in school, and she said something about this or whatever. So I saw that the scammer talked to this guy again on repeat every 7 minutes for about an hour, and then suddenly he realized that he was talking to a robot, and he started yelling and was like, "I'm talking to a recording," and he slammed the phone. And I thought it was fake a little bit, like how is this real? But I thought it was funny, so I started doing some research. I saw that there's millions of dollars being stolen by these scammers, and I'm thinking, if I'm a software engineer who's on the computer every day, I'm a millennial who's always on the internet, I feel like I'm pretty hip with the times. How do I not know about these scams? My grandparents had dementia and Alzheimer's when they were alive, so I thought they would definitely have fallen for this if this was around. And so I wanted to see how easily I could get someone on the phone. This partially just, I've always been inquisitive and I like learning, and I knew enough about virtual machines and stuff to feel safe. So I think in 3 or 5 minutes, I had someone on the phone asking to connect to my computer. I remember just
Jesus.
like running and telling my wife about it, and I told some of my friends, and they said, "We'll put it on Twitch so we can see it." And that's why I put it on Twitch, so I could show my friends. It wasn't. Yeah.
It took you 5 minutes. Was that something that like had a lasting impression on you of how like truly fucked up it was, that it was, one, so easily accessible, and two, like really how messed up it is in the first place?
Yeah. I think that's part of what blew me away. I was thinking, oh, well, okay, so there's some of these scammers. Like, it's probably few and far between. But it took no time at all. And there's just hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of these well, you get them probably on your phone.
Sure. Yeah. Different telemarketers.
5 times a day.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
I just I thought about you yesterday because I got a message on my phone that said my social security number had been suspended.
Yep.
I was like,
yeah,
what the fuck
The
are they?
big one,
People
the big
can
one
do
going
this?
around. The big one going around in my state right now is health insurance. They will call
Sure.
you saying that they will get you with health insurance, and all it is a company that takes money and they just never dole out payments.
Yeah.
I might have
Like a
gotten
whole
that call
system,
on
like a
stream
company.
today.
Oh, really? That's
I didn't take it because I wasn't 100% sure what was going on, but yeah,
is that
interesting.
is that ever a worry where you kind of get a call and you're not necessarily sure where they're going, so you don't want to like broadcast it till you've quote tested it?
Yeah, that's a good summary of so people submit numbers to me at this point, like if they
Oh,
got
okay.
a voicemail that they suspect is scam, I have like a form they can fill out. And so usually every stream, about an hour before the stream, I just go through submissions. I go through a variety of different. I have a bunch of phone numbers too that they call me on. So, but I always investigate it to make sure it's actually a scam. I don't necessarily want to call McDonald's or call uh, just some place that's sketchy, but not necessarily scam.
Has that ever happened before, where you've called a legitimate thing on
I
air
don't
and
know if
had to
I've ever done it
apologize?
live,
Okay.
but I've definitely done it offline. People have submitted their own phone numbers or like McDonald's or different places like that.
Yeah.
And I call them up, and then a couple minutes into it, I'm like, oh,
This is legit. Okay. Yeah.
this is legit.
For
Yeah.
those watching the video, if you're listening to the audio, this won't play. But if you're watching the video right now, this is what Kit does when he says he's going to drive to buy the Google Play cards. Is he plays? What game is this that you pull up?
I think it's Beam NG. I think.
Okay. All
I'll
right.
check.
So this is how he drives and gets his Google Play cards.
Yeah.
While he's
Yep.
now, do you talk to the scammers while you're doing this, or
I try.
yeah?
Sometimes they won't allow me to, and they just want you to concentrate on driving because apparently they care so much about you, you know.
Oh yeah, of course, of course.
Really
really
want
gets
you to get
to
to
the
the
heart.
store in one piece.
Oh,
yeah,
man.
yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
that's the
Exactly. Jesus.
Something I wanted to point out just real quick, like I'm so glad that you have eyes because I don't think I've ever seen them.
Yeah. So what the sunglasses?
yeah.
Like what is the? Is that just part of the
Alright, let me-
thing?
I can put it back on.
Yeah. A lot of people didn't recognize you at first. They were like, "Who is this guy?" I thought Kitboga was gonna show up. What? What's going on with the sunglasses? Is that just a thing?
The honest story is when I told you before, my friend said put it on Twitch, and I the first stream I ever did, which I don't think I recorded and is hopefully deleted off the internet because it was probably really awkward and weird, is me without my glasses, and I was talking to scammers because my one or two friends were watching, and I think what happened was somewhere I did that like once a week. I think usually on about like a Sunday, I would get on, I'd call some scammers, and I'd show my friends. Somewhere along the way, I don't have my guitar with me, but I was, Boot Scoot Boogie?
Oh yeah, of course.
Yeah.
Old-
Yeah.
Yeah.
On Montana,
Texas
baby. I know
born
that.
and
I know
bred.
that shit, dude.
Yeah. You got some
Okay.
country
Yeah.
folk
North Carolina.
Here we
Here. You
go.
got three
Mercy
country
Bell.
boys here.
Yeah. Trust me.
So
We know.
Yeah.
I started singing that to a scammer, and the scammer was singing with me. It was just kind of a weird, I figured, hey, I'll waste their time. Like the general concept for me was if I'm wasting their time, they're not talking to someone else.
Sure.
That was the general. And so I was singing Boot Scoot Boogie, and I think someone shared that on Livestream Fail or something. And the next time I streamed, before my stream even started, I had 20 or 30 people like chatting. And I remember thinking, what's going on? I had no concept of, all of this. And I went out to my car and I had aviator glasses and I put them on.
All right.
Yeah,
Because
man.
I didn't want
totally get
people to
that.
know
It's
who I
armor,
was.
man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It works.
Yeah.
It's what
There's a little
you got.
space
That
between
and-
you and like what's happening,
Yeah.
There was keep someone else. I had a question and then it just went away.
Sure. I
So,
got one.
Give me a second.
You mentioned virtual machine. Can you? It'll be a little bit tech jargony, I'm sure, but that's mostly what I'm interested in terms of like your production and your gear associated with this. Like,
Yeah.
what is the normal setup for your stream? I guess is where we'll start. And like before you go live, what are you making sure is running?
Okay. And I will say it's evolved a lot over the past 2 years. My first I was initially using a Guitar Hero USB microphone hanging from the ceiling,
Oh my God. Okay.
but I hid it from camera view.
Sure. Yeah. Professional since the very start.
Like a professional.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. And maybe even like talk about the evolution of it, because
Yeah.
I'll be honest. I watched you initially, and then I was out in London at Sacriel's wedding, and
Oh yeah.
we were at their house on like the Wednesday or something, and he had just finished streaming. So we were like, "Well, what do you guys want to do now?" And he goes, "Oh, I'm gonna watch Kitboga. It's like it's 8 o'clock here in London. Let's watch Kitboga. He's scamming someone." So we tuned in, and I
Yeah.
think we sat there and watched like the five of us for probably the next 4 or 5 hours, and that was, I think, the beginning of the like 30-hour scam that you did.
With Adam.
Yeah, with that, and I was just blown away at like you were doing this shit, and I was like, when the fuck did all this happen? There's so much stuff going on in these streams. So yeah, talk a little bit about the evolution of gear from since you started.
Yeah, there's a lot we can unpack with that too, because I would say my evolution, if you will, of streaming changed a lot too. Because my initial thought process was like, oh, I didn't know a lot about streaming. I had watched guys like you, and I've watched folks like Soda or Co in particular for a lot of years. But my understanding of streaming was like, oh, you get on there and you kind of grind it out, like you keep streaming, and like that's what you hear on our Twitch. We can talk about that later because I'm sure you guys have opinions, but
sure.
So yeah, initially it was I didn't have a voice changer. I was just using my regular voice like this, and I had the Guitar Hero microphone, and I started to so the virtual machine, you got to have some sort of layer in between you, right? You're talking to criminals who want to do malicious things on your computer. So I use VirtualBox. There's a variety of other virtual machines, but initially I basically just installed VirtualBox. I had Windows on it, and I used the Tor network, if you're familiar with Tor browser or any of that stuff, as my internet. Basically, I bridged the connection to Tor, which I don't necessarily think I would suggest doing for a variety of reasons. Also, it's really slow. So very quickly after that, I just switched to using a VPN and a firewall for my internet to the virtual machine.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, the general idea was you have to have a computer that looks like you use it. Because if you install a virtual machine, there will be nothing on it. And I bet if you look at your desktop right now or your documents folder, I imagine it's probably pretty. Maybe not. I don't accuse you guys.
Sure.
I don't.
No,
Probably pretty messy.
Yeah.
Mine is. So I just started filling up well, you can see on the clip right there. I just have tons of copies of folders and ridiculous things to make it look like it's used. And next thing you have to do is really spoof the virtual machine to look. If you type in MSInfo32 on your computer, you know how you get all of your specs?
Yeah.
Well, on a virtual machine, it just says like VirtualBox. So there's a lot of steps that you have to take place to actually spoof real hardware.
Yeah.
And I didn't do all these things in day one. It was like a learning experience.
Learning process.
It would connect to my computer, and 10 minutes into it, they would go, "Oh, you're on a virtual machine," and I'd be like, "How do they know? how do they know?"
You're muted, Co.
This evolve with them kind of like a hacker penetrates defenses by just seeing what's open. Did all this stuff evolve as like gamers would notice little things? And it's like, oh, I got to patch that. I got to patch that. I got to patch that.
Yeah, that's exactly what happened. And so now it's been 2.5 years. I have fake banks and all kinds of things because I know what the scams are. But initially, they'd be like, log into Amazon, and I'd be like, oh, I don't have a fake Amazon account. Or
I can't do that.
log into your bank, and I'm like, I can't do that.
Yeah.
So.
And I love like the stuff you come up with, like the Bank of Gull and Bull, and just like, oh my god, it's so good. Yep. And like it shows, and like your bank records show like you bought like WinRAR for like 50,000 or something like that. Like
yeah, there's inside jokes everywhere.
I love that shit. It's just like for the viewer, you know, like, oh, these are like the fake transactions that have occurred in this fake bank, and it's just those little Easter eggs, like just watching and going like, wait a minute. Oh my God, that's brilliant
Yeah.
and hilarious. But if anybody was like really looking, or like, because the Bank of Gull and Bull, like that's syllable, like if you know that word. But a lot of the people that you talk to, like English is not their first language, so some things like slang or idiosyncrasies or whatever like that will get lost in the shuffle because they're not used. They don't are not aware of them.
Yeah. This is the current iteration, Second Community American Mutual, which the abbreviation is SCAM.
Yeah. Now, do you make all this
gotta
yourself, or do you have someone helping you with this?
Yes. So we code, I say we, on Sunday nights, if I'm not too busy doing other offline work for the stream, I do a code stream on Sunday where we make stuff like this. So we coded the bank over months from scratch live. And I will say, I got to give a lot of credit to Twitch chat. Like some of the ideas, like those little memes that you were talking about, Zeke, I don't come up with all of those myself. Like someone came up with the idea for Second Community American Mutual because I was saying I wanted it to be just a very generic sounding name. Because unfortunately, it's not bad, but the first bank ever was Updog Financial, I think. Updog.
I mean, I just read this out, or read the thing at the bottom that says "Cash me outside." How about that? So yeah, even just the small shit like that is hilarious, man. It's so
the Gull and Bull Financials tagline was lacking critical information since like 1977 or something.
It's so good.
But
I want to see the day where the scammers like read that and call you on it. Like,
actually, okay.
Yeah.
Now this is a perfect segue. I have a 2-part question for you, Kitboga.
Okay.
1, you are now getting big. You are averaging 10,000 viewers on average, if not more.
Wow.
That was my question.
This is my first question. Has anyone yet pegged you as Kitboga from Twitch and caught on to what you were doing? And part 2, if not, have you already started planning for the first time it will inevitably happen?
Good questions. Literally today's stream, someone recognized me as Kitboga.
Really?
It's not the first.
For the first
it's not
time?
The first time.
Oh,
no,
okay.
Not the first time. I should have said yes. You would have lost your mind.
Yeah, I know. I really would have.
Yeah. So I was nervous about that for a while. I remember thinking, like, what am I gonna do? I'm not gonna be able to do this. People won't be able to see the scams anymore because every time I call, they'll be like, "Oh, it's Kitboga," and just hang up. And so I won't be able to keep exposing the scams or like show the new scams that come up. But there's a lot of turnover. There's so many people doing this, and so many of them are like leaving and getting in. There's new people coming in, so it's very rare that I could call the same number and unfortunately get dozens of different people like on the phone. And it's not like they are sitting there with a monitor, like 2 monitors set up, where they've got the Kitboga. And I've thought about this before, and I've thought, if that's the case, hypothetically, can you imagine if every scammer everywhere were sitting there watching my stream to make sure, like, how much time they'd be distracted? Like,
and resources.
It's not going to happen.
Yeah.
It's not going to happen. But like, they would think every single call, they're like, wait, is this Grandma Kitboga, or is it someone?
Am I wasting my time?
I just imagine the scammers like in a gas station. They have the wanted posters next to them, and it's like, Kitboga, watch for this man.
It's just a picture of you in the Edna get up. Wanted.
Maybe. So initially, I worried about it quite a bit, thinking like, oh no. But the first time someone ever recognized me, it was very weird. It was very unexpected. I'd probably waste 50 minutes on the phone with someone, and I was Edna, the grandma. And all of a sudden, like, you hear the phone shuffling and rustling, and someone's like, "That's you, Kitboga, right? I watch all of your YouTube videos." And I'm like, and I just remember being like, "What?" But the scammer boss guy must have been like, because as a manager, you can listen in on your employees' calls in a call center or something.
Right.
He must have recognized the voice, and it was a weird feeling. But he was like, "I've watched every one of your videos. I love your YouTube videos."
So what was your response? Like, how do you respond to that?
At the time, I don't really remember exactly. I was somewhat speechless because I wasn't expecting it. But afterwards, I remember thinking and talking with everyone about how weird that is, that the scammer, some of them, are watching scam baiters. I'm not the only one. Watching scam baiters on YouTube, and they think it's funny.
Yeah,
Like,
that is a little
that's
bit.
a weird.
Do you know what's even crazier to think about? They watch those videos and like use them as training videos.
Right, that's what I was about to say. Like, I wonder how much
I don't-
information they get from that in terms of like do's and don'ts to pass on to
Now,
the
of course, here's the
people they
thing:
manage.
as a public medium, that is, of course, nothing you can do about. Like, there's zero that can be done about it. But at the same time, it is kind of interesting to think like it's almost cyclical. Like, you're gonna have to improve as they figure out what's going on, and then you have to improve.
Yeah.
It's like constantly evolving on both sides. Oh,
I
man.
think that, because I've thought about that before, and it's a good point. I do think to some degree, what they're learning is things that they really probably wouldn't have to worry about for the average person. So if they actually are using that for training, they might actually just be overcomplicating their job. Like, most people don't have fake banks and all kinds of fake things on their computer, so they might be spending all this time looking for things that the regular user wouldn't exist. But yeah.
Out of curiosity, do you ever scam the scammer straight up, or is the goal to waste their time? Like, has it ever gone as far as being like, "Oh yeah, I could get you that money you want, but my bank needs $500"? Like, have you ever like just swung it right around on them?
I've sort of tried before, but it's never really worked. I would say the most scammy thing I've done is either when I fake redeem the cards and their life kind of flashes before their eyes for a second because they thought they were going to get those cards.
Yeah.
But instead I redeemed them. But the other thing is occasionally they will tell me to take all of the money out of my bank account, and I have to safeguard it. So those social security scams that you're talking about, they tell you that your social security number is being suspended because you were involved in a money laundering case where someone smuggled 22 pounds of cocaine to the south border of Texas, which is a lot of cocaine.
I wonder how many prompts they have for that stuff, first off, but go ahead.
Yeah, the script is usually...
watching him work, sometimes, like, I don't know if this is what happens or whatever, but it seems like you get a little bored with like the regular shit that you have to go through. It's like, I can help you go down the script if you want. Like, I tells them that, like, we can jump to the next page of the script if you want to go there. And they're like, what did you just say? So great.
Yeah.
Especially with those social security scams, they basically they're calling hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of numbers, and they just read through their script. And I've called back the literal same person and used my same voice, and they're still reading the script to me. And I'm telling them, like, I just talked to you. One time I actually said, I challenged myself, and I said, I'm never going to respond with yes or no. I'm never going to actually answer these questions. And so they would say, the video exists somewhere, but they said, like, so how do you accept these allegations against you? Do you want to fight this in court, or are you innocent? And I said, lettuce. And then they just kept reading. They were like, okay, since you're innocent, do you want us to help you safeguard your funds? And then I said something like mayonnaise. And then they just like kept going with their script,
Jesus.
which is funny, but also like, holy smoke.
Yeah.
And that goes to the point of there's a lot of turnover. There's a lot of people who are just reading a piece of paper, and they, because with the setup of my system, people occasionally say, well, Kit, are you afraid of someone like hacking out of your virtual machine, or like someone somehow figuring out where you are? But I don't really think of this stuff as like Breaking Bad. A lot of the people that I did.
Really?
Initially,
I'm
I did.
sure there's some fright. Yeah.
Yeah. that which is part of why I wore the glasses initially too. Like, oh, what if the scammers find my channel or what? But no, most of the folks I deal with, I think, are like reading a piece of paper, and they barely know how to. You can watch probably on the clip there. It's like they barely know how to open up Google Chrome and download TeamViewer. So
Yeah.
my Google Chrome has a fake plugin where when you search on Google, it redirects you to the 7th page of Bing for whatever search results. And they cannot figure it out. Like they just can't figure out what's going on,
man.
So like,
Yeah, you know, it's funny because now that I've thought about that question that was asked Kitboga a little bit earlier, it's like if somebody did have the skills to actually know what was going on technically, they wouldn't be scamming people over the phone on a weekday.
That's true.
They'd be at a nice job somewhere making real money.
That is true.
yes,
Yeah.
yeah.
Do you think there's like a gold star scammer in some of these like call centers? Is there like the best scammer of the month or anything? Like, does that exist?
Well, if you're asking like, are they incentivized? I would say absolutely. They
Yeah.
basically, from my understanding, I think they only get paid based on their success, which is
Jeez.
why a lot of times if I'm taking too much time or I ask questions that are hard, they will just hang up, which no actual tech support company would do.
It's gonna
Like
hang up,
no
yeah.
one does. That's not how you do the customer service industry, as a lot of people can probably attest to. If you've ever had a job like that, you can't just hang up. But they just move on. Sometimes within the first 8 minutes, if I'm like, oh, well, I can't hear you. What are you saying? They just go, this is going to take too long. I'm not going to be able to scam this person. And they hang up.
Yeah.
Because they're not getting paid. You'd think if they're getting paid by the hour, they wouldn't care. You know, they just sit there on the phone all day. And
That's true. Yeah.
But
Good point.
I want to know, like, have you ever, like, cause I know you do like the reveal part when you think it's come to a conclusion or whatever, and you let them know, and then, but I've seen like multiple videos of you like confronting the person, like person to person, like human to human. Have you ever had like someone like just like say like, you're right, this I'm a scammer and this sucks, and I you know, blah blah blah, like feel bad about it or whatever?
Heart to heart.
yeah, a few times I've had what I would call heart to heart, but I never know how real it is. I guess it's hard because the scammers can be very manipulative, and they try to appeal to your emotion or your heart sometimes, and they'll just say, oh, I didn't know, or I have, my family, I'm never going to be able to feed my kids because of, and I have to do this. Like, this is the only thing I can do. My parents are in the hospital and this is all I can do. But what I try to do is treat them like a person. Because sometimes the reaction or the thought process is, you just want to yell and say like, F you, you're a terrible person. Why are you doing this? But, they are people who are clearly making terrible, terrible life decisions. But I ask questions like, when was the last time that you looked for another job? And they usually don't know how to answer questions like that. I just try to make them think, I guess.
Yeah.
And a good summary of how the stream has grown and shifted over the years is I sort of, initially it was just discovery and me kind of learning about what these scams were. And it shifted a lot more into just the priority being, let's try to make the world a little bit better place. Like if we're laughing and we have a community where we can go through life together, which I'm sure you guys think about too with your streams. Like, let's see if we can get some smiles in and make the world a little bit better place. Like that's kind of the goal.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
I think some of my favorite reactions, I won't show them here, but they're pretty easily Googleable, was when you just had people screaming at you outright, just like just raging at the top of their lungs. And this is probably like a week or two ago, or maybe a month ago. Maybe it was before TwitchCon. That was, I've never seen, in all the hours I've watched, I've never seen someone just scream at you. It was right when you would redeem the cards, I believe. It was
so there's
special.
One on Twitter that I think I have pinned. You like that casual shout out to my...
There you go. Go check it out. Twitter.com.
There's one on Twitter.
Just point down. There you go.
where it was about 6 hours, maybe 5 hours, and it was one of the first few times that we ever did the Google Play redemption things. And they've gotten angry before, but this guy was just screaming. He ended up smashing you heard the headset smash and some books fall over, and then the line dropped.
Dude, it's a clip. Yeah, you should watch it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's kind of a feels good moment too. You're like, okay, that feels sort of like you scammed them. You flipped it around and said,
yeah, it's the ultimate I won type situation, and that's
when I heard you were coming on to the opening ceremony and stuff. That's what I really like, because obviously I knew who you were and I'd seen some clips here and there and stuff, but I never done like hours worth of research or what have you.
Yeah.
And I had a whole list of people that were going to be on. You were there. You saw the American Eagle Foundation and Rappaport and all these other people and streamers and stuff. And I was like, all right, I'm gonna do a little research on all of these guys. And I was like, okay, start with Kitboga. And then I just went to your YouTube and I was like, okay, let's just watch the most watched thing. And then no shit, 5 hours later, it's I didn't do research on anybody else. I just sat there and watched clip or YouTube video after video of you just taking these people to and getting back to what we were talking about. That was fucking insanity.
Wait, what was
insane?
I haven't seen that one.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Can you explain?
I'm trying to think of the best way to help you find it. Did you watch the original one from a couple years ago, you think?
It was on your YouTube. It was most watched.
Yeah. So I think the most watched YouTube video, probably, if it hasn't changed, was from 2 years ago. I didn't redeem any Google Play cards or anything. He tried to, in Windows, what is it? Windows 7, there was something called syskey, which administrators could use to set a password. So unless you knew that password, you couldn't get into your computer. And so scammers would try to do that to lock you out of your computer and hold you hostage. But I had a fake syskey, and the guy didn't know that. And so I think I knew the syskey password or something. And he got really, really upset. And I think I was calling him a fool or something, as an old lady saying, you just wasted 2 hours, And then he said, I'm not listening, blah, blah, blah. I'm not listening, blah, blah. And he kept just going, blah, 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 like a little kid. Blah, 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 blah. And
yeah. Jesus. Oh, man.
You have to watch. You witnessed a dude, go insane a little bit.
Yeah. There's been a lot of mixed insanity over the past couple of years. There's been a few scenarios where I've run into people who probably are, what would the term be, sociopaths, where they just have no empathy and no care at all, and have threatened to kill Edna. Edna is the name of the grandmother character, where they say the social security scammers are the ruthless ones who would say, ma'am, if you do not go and get the government voucher card right now, your social security will be suspended and you'll be killed or something. They're how does someone say that? It doesn't make sense. How does someone say that to another human being? And my only conclusion is it's got to be something either they've been doing it so long that they're desensitized to it, or they're just
complete dissociation. They're not talking to a real person. They're talking to a
phone.
Mark.
They're talking to a phone. Yeah.
That's scary. Man.
It is. Scary.
It actually brings up another question. Did Edna, a lot of the shit that had become memes on my channel come about just by chance, by me fucking around with different voice modulations and stuff like that. How did Edna come about?
I don't fully remember.
Was she the first character?
I don't think. I think I tried to do a Russian voice was maybe one of, or the Kaikona kind of southern twang.
Sure.
Was one of the
Yeah.
One of those two were probably the first, because I didn't initially. So, sort of coming full circle to your question, JP. The first piece of tech I bought was a Roland VT3 voice transformer, and that was when I think we were just playing around with it. And there's hopefully this isn't too weird, but there's a feature like this that
sounds like a phone.
It kind of sounds like a phone. And I think I was just playing around with that because I needed to disguise my voice. Some of the scammers recognized my voice even back then if I called the same call center a few times in a row.
Yeah.
And I also realized they're primarily in some of the scams they're going after older folks. So me, I don't think I sound like, an older gentleman just talking like this. So I think probably what happened is we were just playing with the VT3 and I probably did something like this, and then if you pitch shift it a little bit higher and you start talking like the more you play with it, the more it sounds like a grandma.
Now,
It is so insanely good.
what?
Like
Dude,
I'm jealous.
I love the grandmother angle so much because it's like a debuff to their defenses. Like right when you come in, they're gonna hear this old lady and they're gonna be like, oh, it's an old lady. Like this is gonna be easy, no problem.
Yeah.
Like that. Oh man,
Do you
I love
find
it.
that to be like the most successful character that you have? Is Edna? Okay.
By far, yeah. Unfortunately, or just being honest, I think the female characters in general have a little bit of an extra debuff against them. Their
Sure.
charisma levels drop quite a bit. Some of them I do
Like this Valley Girl kind of like voice a lot, and
Yeah.
like
So good.
Yeah.
they often like fall for her or try to like flirt with her,
Jesus.
and there's been some really uncomfortable situations.
Yeah.
Uh,
Christ.
Yeah, I think one of the top viewed clips on Twitch from last year, maybe from my channel, the top viewed clips of my stream from Twitch was I used to have a folder on my desktop called Nudes,
I remember that.
and it
yeah.
had naked mole rats in it, like naked mole rats. And one of the guys, like, they would think that you couldn't see what they were doing because you'd say, I'm going to
I gotta go to the bathroom really quick.
or something, and then they all of a sudden would start looking through your pictures, and
Yeah.
inevitably they see the nudes folder and they click on it, and there was just this like full frontal naked mole rat picture. It was so good.
Yeah, that
Like,
when you hide stuff in
ugh.
the folders and they start going through it, it's one of the crazier things. I think one of my other favorite moments, and it kind of shows your, I guess forward progression of the stream, is when you'll bring the scammer onto a call with you posing as someone else, like your bank, and then talk as your bank, talking to Edna with the scammer
Yeah.
on the call as well, and you're bouncing back and forth in a one-sided like a one-man, two-person conversation. That
Yes.
type of stuff is fucking crazy. That one, you can stay in character and not fuck it up, and two, make it believable enough that think that they're talking to the bank. It's actually insane.
I think to Ko's point too, at some degree, once they think that there's money, that alone like just brings down every one of their stats, and they're like, "Oh my gosh, I'm about to get money." Like,
Down
and
goes
so
the
I
int,
think,
down goes the charisma, down goes the wisdom.
yeah, they're blinded by they're about to get money, so it is somewhat easier at that point. But it's that's evolved over the past 2 years. I couldn't initially do that, but at this point, I think I can like switch between this and then like talk to like a Russian voice and then talk as like a grammar and I just can you
Ping-pong
practice
it, yeah.
and you can switch between all the presets and just have like a 3 or 4 way conversation with yourself.
Yeah.
But the scammer doesn't know what's going on, and it's
So,
yeah.
obviously, you're highly successful on your Twitch stream, and I'm sure you have people like an accountant or lawyers or anything. When you go to these people and
Yeah.
tell them what you do for a living, what is that like? Do you say, "Yeah, I scam people," or "I scam the scammers," and I live stream it, and people subscribe to what? Like, it's a weird conversation for
weird.
Twitch streamers in general to be like, "Yeah, I play video games for a living," but you have like an extra level of weird on top of
Maybe.
that.
I was gonna say you guys have all had those same conversations,
Yeah,
so
Yeah.
maybe it is an extra bit level of weird because you say, well, what do you do? And I can't. Typically, I don't play too many video games. Occasionally, I do like role play stuff and whatever. But yeah, it's definitely weird. Honestly, I'm fairly private about things, so I tend to try to not tell people about
try to be
about
as
some of that.
elusive as possible. Yeah.
I
I mean, even when you
and I
like,
think there's a variety of reasons for that. I don't know how open you guys are about stuff, but I think there's some interesting things that go on the internet, and to some degree, streamers have a spotlight, and there's lots of people looking at us.
sure, yeah,
So I've just tried to be careful, partially because initially I thought the scammers were like the mafia and were gonna come break my kneecaps.
Do you still think that, or have you learned that they're maybe not as smart as you initially thought?
Yeah, I'm not as worried about that.
Okay. Good answer. Good answer.
I'll say it that way.
Yeah. Makes sense.
Not as worried about that. But
Makes sense.
but yeah, I just think in general, there was some shift in culture where it was like, let's just tell everyone everything about, like MySpace. Like, let's just tell everyone everything about what we're doing at all times and where we live and what our name is and what our phone number is.
Right.
And if someone knows that, there's so many things they can do with it. So I try to be.
Yeah. It's definitely harder. Even like things as simple or I guess as common as like getting an apartment or moving anywhere. People are like, so we need your last employers and last landlord, like right here. It's like, what? I streamed. What are you talking about?
What was your first pet's name? Just,
Yeah.
kind of wondering.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Now that's the big thing on Twitter, right? Is everyone like asking these fucking security questions and it turning into like a giant trend on social media of like, oh yeah, what's the first job you ever worked at, and what's your favorite color?
I don't know if
and that's your porn star name. I'm the balloon donut maker.
Oh, but then people are using that. Ooh, they're cross-referencing it with like accounts
I had
that have
no
been
idea.
exposed previously.
Dude, yes.
Yeah.
A lot of those questions that are like, take the street you were born on and the name of your first pet, and that's exactly like he's saying. Those are started by scammers a lot of times.
Never thought about that.
The funny thing is,
Makes
I
complete
made
sense
up one myself and put it on Twitter, and didn't know. So, and someone like called me out.
Yeah.
On Twitter because I was like coming up with your indie grunge band name or name or whatever.
Zeke's
and I was like, this, and this. And they were like, are you from Russia, dude? And I went, oh my God.
Yeah.
Dude, the worst ones are things like that on Facebook. Because then they can like have that information. They click on a profile and it's like, boom, real name, location, boom, 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 boom. So it's like, it can get real bad.
Yeah.
Wow.
That's scary.
You've opened up my eyes. It's something I don't even think about.
There you go. Yeah, maybe work that in. Do you have stuff that you like want to work into the stream that you haven't built yet? Like what is the dream stream thing, the tool wise that you would like?
The dream stream thing. One of the things I'd like to do, which I have a couple trying to think of how to word this. I'm hoping could be accomplished.
Sure.
So I'm sure that folks, I'll just tell you the idea.
Okay.
I have a fake bank and that's fun. But what if Chase or Wells Fargo or whoever, like an actual bank, just worked with me and said, like, we'll give you an account. But it would have to be locked down to some degree because the scammers will try to transfer the money and they'll have to look like there's money in it. But if I'll just dream big with that.
Yeah.
I'll dream big. I imagine there's a lot of corporate things that go into making a decision.
It's
like
a lawyer's nightmare, I'm sure, to look at that. Yeah.
It's a big dream. It's a big dream, but that.
Have you ever thought of like, not necessarily, I guess outside of Twitch, and maybe it's just so much extra work that there's no point in even trying, but like some sort of consulting gig in terms of like going to banks or, I don't know, making a quick video to like,
old folks' homes.
Yeah, making like a YouTube video to show to people's grandparents of like, these are the tricks that may happen, or the commonly used tricks or something like that.
Yeah, there's a few on YouTube that are like really short, like 7-minute kind of like, here's what the financial scams look like and here's what to look out for. And those don't usually get shared as much because they're not like funny.
They're not humorous.
But I think if you're gonna share it with your grandma, it's probably she'll watch a 7-minute video. She probably won't understand some of what's going on when with some of my other videos. Consulting and things like that, I've thought a little bit about, and it's sort of in the back of my mind, like that could be kind of a cool thing to do at some point. But right now it's just been so busy with the streaming stuff that I haven't really focused on it.
Yeah.
But I think there's a lot of room for that, potentially, for sure.
Is there like a national? Is there anything being done here that you can like report these scammers to, or like groups or agencies that?
Yeah.
Shut this shit.
Yeah,
down,
even people
or,
like.
Yeah.
yeah, even people like the FTC, FCC. There's a lot of .gov organizations that'll explicitly tell you, like, if you Google Social Security suspension, they'll just straight up tell you, like, this is a scam. We don't ever suspend your Social Security number. Here's where to report these things to, so we can try to fight back. The FBI tries to fight back. And you can work with these agencies. The hardest part is a lot of them being in foreign countries. There's a point with, what is it called? Jurisdiction, I guess.
Legal jurisdiction.
There's a point where it's like, well, we can only go so far. So you have to work now with another country and another legal system. And eventually they do. I mean, hundreds of these call centers get shut down every year. And if there's someone in the United States, though, they're way easier to get arrested. That happens occasionally. The reason that they ask for the Google Play cards and stuff is typically because to process a credit card, you got to be like a legit company with a tax ID number, and like you have to kind of be a verified business.
Yeah.
So they partner with people in the United States that have a legit business, and when those guys get caught, like they're easy to prosecute, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, it's a whole conundrum, I suppose.
It sounds
pretty much
messy.
open and shut fraud in that case, right?
Yeah, something like
again?
that.
Like I'm wondering, one thing that I'm kind of wondering is like, I wonder if your streams could ever be used as like evidence for that stuff.
Yeah, has that ever happened where it's wanted to be used in discovery or something like that?
I can't neither confirm nor deny any of the things that you're talking about.
Okay, yeah, makes sense. That's cool.
Well, I think that there's all kinds of stuff on YouTube, and the streams or the calls where you can say like, hey, here's proof that this was happening. Here's the phone number. Here's the bank account. Occasionally, they give me their bank account that they want me to transfer cash to, and so you can just call up Wells Fargo or someone and say like, hey, here's the bank account and here's the name or here's the address they wanted me to mail a check to.
Yeah.
And those are a lot easier to just hand off to someone, and they can do something with it. But
do they like?
Unfortunately, just a phone number, there's not usually
You
a
can
lot.
spoof numbers. And
A lot of people can also be on the other side of that phone number. That's not a
Yeah.
Yeah.
When you call the banks, do they like? Is there a barrier that you have to break for them to take you seriously?
That's honestly what, like your question before, JP, about like what do you tell people you do?
Yeah.
That's a really weird conversation because they're like, "Hi, we're with the fraud department. Can you let me pull up your account?" And I go, "I don't actually have an account with you." Well, why are you talking to the fraud department? Did something happen? Well, I didn't actually get scammed or anything. I basically talk to scammers and they're kind of like, "What? What are you talking about?
Oh, man.
How do you know that this is their bank account?" Well, I have a fake bank, you see. Like,
yeah.
I just picture them on the other line, like, go on.
Yeah. Jesus.
but usually they're pretty good. Some banks are better than others. There's been a handful of them that are like, "Oh my gosh, this is great. Just give us as much information as you can," and they transfer me to the right people. Others, and I imagine it's just whether it's for legal reasons or publication or PR reasons, they really don't say anything and they really don't do anything. They just say, "Okay, thanks," and hang up.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Huh. What a fucking
Crazy.
crazy thing, man.
Yeah.
When you brought up adopting two different characters, like the bank and the person on the phone call with the scammer, stuff like that. Do you ever do that with like other real people, like that are in on the joke, or and can the next one be me?
I was gonna say, we should talk if you guys ever want to try it. Because I try to have a guest on maybe like once a month. It doesn't always work out, but if you guys know like Milton T. Pike from the GTA stuff, he's been on a couple times. Usually like spur of the moment, I'll give you an example. The other day, I logged into my bank and I thought it would be funny to make it so I had like no money in my account just to see what would happen. And of course, they start laughing and they basically say, "Oh, man, we can't help you." And they hung up.
Yeah.
Even though they spent 2 hours getting to my fake bank, when they saw there was no money in it, they can't scam me. So while they were still on my computer, I quick cut the network connection. I changed the bank account to have like 50 grand in it. And I logged back in using my ex-husband's name. And they called me back and were like, ma'am, whose account is this? And I said it was my ex-husband. And they started trying to steal from my ex-husband. So when they transferred in between my two accounts, like between my ex-husband's account, of course it was all fake, but
It's fake accounts.
they thought it was real. Milton really quickly pretended to be my ex-husband for like 20 minutes and just started screaming at me, and then we pretended to fall in love again over the phone. It was like
oh my god,
it was a lot of fun.
God damn,
Probably one of
dude.
my favorites, if you know Professor Broman.
Oh yeah, of course.
Oh, yeah.
Came on, and I was not expect. So he came on. We had a scheduled time where he was going to join the stream, and I was already in the middle of a call, and I said, "Hey, do you mind if you just join this call, or do you want me to cut it?" And he said, "No, I'll join." So I was
the Valley Girl character.
and he became my boyfriend. My boyfriend came over, and like 10 minutes in, they're asking me to type the email address so they could process the payment. And he types will.u.mary.me@gmail.com.
Oh my
And
God.
I was not expecting it at all. And I burst out laughing. I had to mute myself, and then we pretended like that he was proposing to me. and I was like, yes, 1,000 times yes. And eventually the scammer was like, F you,
man.
and hung up the phone.
Man.
But,
Well,
but yes, to answer your question, I thoroughly enjoy having guests on.
Okay.
And if you guys are interested, let me know.
Yeah, we'll do
That's
the
another
drop
dream
frames.
of mine, is to just do more and more guests. Oh, you guys could all be my bankers.
No, we'll do the drop frames bingo club, and we'll all just be old ladies who are.
Yes.
Or old gentlemen.
Oh,
or old
sir,
gentlemen.
you're being so helpful with my friend. I've got some other friends that you can talk to right
Yeah,
now.
or banker. Yeah, there's so many. Yeah, man, that's doing like group.
I'll
Man,
get him
that's
on the
just crazy.
phone.
That
Yeah.
shit would be so fun.
For the record, I would be willing to sub a whole drop frames for that any day, JP.
It'd be
You guys-
great.
you
Yeah,
guys just
we're
work.
totally
Yeah.
down to do that stuff. We should definitely
Okay.
chat.
Okay.
It's the type of thing. When I forgot who it was, but I was trying to tell someone like what it is that you do, and I likened it to when I was like 10. You would listen in to different shoutcasts, and even radio stations back then would just do prank calls. They would just call someone randomly, and like it would be a prank call. I feel like this is like the evolution of that in 2019.
Yeah.
Like you're prank calling scammers. And it's
Yeah.
crazy that's
Like white hat prank calling.
Yeah, exactly. It's a weird.
It's not like calling someone and saying, "Is your refrigerator running?" and laughing at their expense. It's like,
a little
okay,
bit
these
more
are
involved.
criminals.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's the other thing
Yeah.
too. Like, does it desensitize you at all the fact that like you're talking to actual criminals, these assholes that are like scamming people, rightfully so?
Yeah, I think the honest answer would be, yeah. Like when you do it every single day, something I try to remind myself, is to try to experience this like it's the first time. Because I've talked to them thousands of times, like maybe 2,000 or 3,000 calls at this point. And so there are people who come to this stream who have never seen this before. And I'm kind of just, as you said, Zeke, sometimes I'm sort of like, all right, let's go. Let's pick up the pace. This is kind of boring. Like I've heard this script 100 times this week.
God.
But then there's other people who have never heard it before in their life. So it's hard to balance when something crazy happens. Well, maybe it's happened to me like 15 times, but sometimes people have never heard it before.
Yeah, that's insane. Well, we're a little bit over the show, so we'll wrap up and do final questions if Zeke or Co have any here. It's already been an hour, so
I had questions for you guys. It's fine. We'll
we'll
sometime.
give you a final
Sometime.
question as well. Co, Zeke, any
it would be
final...
way too long.
Oh.
Way too long. I've been thinking a lot about like what I said before about this concept of like, oh, you just got to grind out your streams and like just keep. And I've really shifted over the past 6 months to a year about what I think streaming is, and I was curious like how you guys go about creating content. But that's like a whole. You
Sure.
could talk for 2 hours about that.
We'll have you back then. Yeah, we'll definitely have you back in the
Okay.
future, and won't be purely focused on the craziness that is your stream. We'll definitely chat.
Trust me,
about that
we
stuff.
love to talk about that stuff.
Yeah, we talk
Yeah,
about
I
it
would
almost
love
every
to
week.
talk about it with you.
Yeah,
I'd be honored to talk about it with you guys.
I think it's important that streamers get out there and like, even if it's not streamed, to just talk about that stuff because it's a weird business that it's very hard to relate to.
it's also super interesting how differently everyone approaches it. So, because there's, I mean, we're riding the wave of this medium. This has never been done before in history. There's no right way to do it. So it's like there's no boilerplate, and everyone's kind of pioneering their own direction, which makes it even more fun to talk about. So.
Yeah.
It's a weird world. Anyways, final questions from Zeke for Kitboga, or should we just do some shout outs if you guys have nothing?
This has been awesome. Thank you so much for coming on. This has been great. This has been absolutely great.
It's been
I don't have any questions.
Thank you guys for having me.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Zeke?
I had a ton of fun.
Oh.
I did want to say, like, it's not a question, but I want to like make a public apology to Kitboga and every other guest on the opening ceremony thing that I had to rattle through so quick, because like I had to, like, that was part of the gig, was like, go, everybody gets like 2 minutes. Get them on. Oh, everybody, next guest. Man. So like I could have sat down and talked to you like we did for multiple hours about, all kinds of stuff, streaming and scamming and blah, blah, blah. But like, and like I said, like everybody on the stage that was a streamer or involved with Twitch kind of understood. Some of the, like, maybe NASA and American Eagle Foundation are like, meh. But then I don't think Michael Rappaport is gonna. He might not agree to do shit. Like,
oh gosh,
man, he was
no hard. I appreciate it, but no hard feelings at all. I pretty much was like, hey, this is cool to be up here. I'll dress up as Edna and do whatever they want. And we were already told that it was way over, like, before we even got up there.
Yeah.
Because they asked us to be there at a certain time, and I was like, I don't have time to go to the bathroom. And I remember all I was thinking about is I gotta go to the bathroom. But then, like, time just kept going. So no worries at all. No hard feelings.
Oh, God. All right, let's do some shout outs. Zeke, we'll let you go first and show Kitboga the ropes of the shout out game, and then let him do his spiel as well. Zeke,
all right,
indulge.
What's up, everybody? Thank you guys for watching, as you do most weeks. Thank you especially to Kitboga. What you do is fantastic, and from the first video, like, I was a fan, and I think it's entertainment and a good cause all wrapped into one, so like, you can't lose. So thank you for being here. Co-Carnage, itmeJP, thank you for being my co-host every week. And my name is Ezekiel the Third. You can find me at or / Ezekiel_III. That's on Twitch, Twitter, and YouTube. After this show today, I will be on twitch.tv/Table Story doing role-playing with all of my Nocturne people. It's a science fiction, timey-wimey, horror kind of a game that we're playing, and it should be a fun show because we're going to be doing a really, like, a special one-shot kind of a show that's kind of like adjacent to the main story. So that's coming up top of the next hour. But if you want to catch me playing video games, I will be on at noon tomorrow playing Rebel Cops, which is by the makers of This Is the Police. It's a XCOM style game with like the This Is the Police vibe. So that's all I got.
Awesome stuff. Do some shout outs for us.
Absolutely. As always, a big thank you to JP and Zeke, and a huge shout out and thank you to Kitboga. This has been a very fun show this week. One of the better ones, in my opinion. This has been great. So if you haven't heard of me, my name is Ko. Hi, it's nice to meet you. I stream every day at 8 a.m. EDT, currently playing Bloodstained in the mornings, Danganronpa V3 in the afternoon. We've got a ton of scary games coming out. We have the big Outer Worlds playthrough. And as a quick reminder to my regulars, I'm going to be out of town on Monday and Tuesday for some stuff. We're going to be running the Subnautica replay for anyone that wants to check that out. But yeah, thank you as always, everyone, for watching, and we'll see you next week.
Awesome stuff. Kitboga? Edna was here, and now she's gone.
Yeah, well, everyone saw it, so it's okay.
I ruined everything. I said go next after Zeke, and then I it's my fault. Look, we gotta have a conversation. We gotta learn each other's improv before we do whatever the stream is. So there's some shout outs.
I saw an opportunity and I took it, but it's okay.
Okay. All right. Do some shout outs for us.
Hi, I'm Kitboga, guys. Thank you so much for having me. It was an honor, a pleasure. That time flew by, which I think usually means that we had fun. So thank you. It's nice to meet everyone who's watching it. If you're even moderately interested in learning about some of the scams or hearing some of the weird like role play with different characters or something like that, you can find me on YouTube and Twitch and Twitter as Kitboga, and I call scammers most days of the week. We'll be on tomorrow and Friday and Sunday and Monday and Tuesday and yeah. So thank you guys again for having me. It's super good to meet everyone.
Awesome stuff. Last but not least,
is it a long
a
long story about how Kitboga came about?
Oh yeah,
the actual name.
That's right. We never asked where your name came from.
It's from Age of Empires. One of my favorite games.
Oh,
there was basically a computer player that was only sending catapults to my base, and as you know, that's a very poor strategy to only send catapults the entire game. So, yeah.
Nice. Cool. I'll do some shout outs here. I'm new to doing shout outs, so we've done 200 episodes. I've only done 2 shout outs myself. It's a weird thing. We won't go into it. I'll just do them anyways. What do we got coming up? Destiny after this stream. I got to continue the grind because I'm actually addicted. We'll be starting Divinity Original Sin 2 on Friday, I believe. That'll start at 1 p.m. Eastern. My first time ever playing the game. So if you want to come backseat game me, feel free because I'm going to need it. I think I might be playing on the hardest difficulties. I'm not sure. I got to talk to Ko about a couple things because he said he had some tips. So we'll do that. Sunday, we got Roleplay Court of Swords. That's starting at 6 p.m. Eastern. Zeke will be joining there as well as Gassy Mexican Dance Gaming and Adam Coble as the GM. And then next week, more shows on Tuesday and Wednesday with more drop frames at 1 p.m. Eastern. So that is that. Kitboga, thanks so much for joining us here on Drop Frames this week. We'll definitely have you back in the future. And we'll talk. We got to get in on the scam game, but we need to have a conversation about it first. We can't just jump.
Let's do it.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. Thanks everyone so much for watching. We will see you guys next week for more. Have a good rest of your day. We're out of here. Bye.